Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this CEVO Season 5 match between Earthspirit and Sneaky Nick's Assassins. My name is Gorgon the Wonder Cow, and I will be your shepherd this evening, bringing you through this best-of-2 match toward the end of our season between these two powerhouses of our league, both of whom are sitting near the top of the leaderboard so far and looking strong moving into the finals. We've got Earthspirit getting rid of the Death Prophet and Sneaky Nick's Assassins getting rid of the Doombringer. So far, nothing really out of the ordinary. Both teams taking a little bit more than usual time in terms of their decisions for the picks and bans. As we do move into this game, I want to let everybody know that I will be casting alone tonight. My normal co-caster Toffee's had some personal stuff come up, and we weren't sure if he was going to be able to make the cast or not. He may be jumping in for game number 2. I'm not 100% positive, but for the time being, I'm all you've got. So let's make the best of it, huh? Earthspirit is going to pick up the Shadow Shaman. Looks like they're going into a pretty standard push-style build out of that, as is pretty common. Skywrath there to counter the Brewmaster, that long silence to prevent Brewmaster from being able to do Primal Split, along with the fact that the Mystic Flare will be able to stack on top of those Shackles, making for a very powerful mid-game combo for ganks, and especially for pre-push ganks. Sneaky Nick's Assassins, considering that, are probably going to try to get some folks who are not particularly heavy on the cast dependency. Void's already been banned out, so the Razor's going to come in here. That's a little bit more of a set it and forget it style hero, where you basically just pop the ult. Maybe you're going to go ahead and get off one of those leashes as well, the static link, and steal some damage. But after that, you're pretty much just walking around doing as much damage as you possibly can to everybody who happens to be around you.
10 seconds remaining.
Not really that afraid of the Skywrath Mage. Of course, he does have that unstable current to counter the Skywrath Mage, throwing out any sort of additional harass to him. That Skywrath Mage is most likely going to be a support, though we cannot be 100% sure. And Pugna going to be banned by Earthspirit, followed by the Viper, banned by Sneaky Nick's Assassins. That Viper would go very well with the Shadow Shaman in a push-style build, and would also be a strong laner for the mid lane if the Skywrath Mage is not going there, and I don't suspect that he will be, as I already stated. Sneaky Nick's Assassins are sitting on top of one more ban here, as they are thinking about moving in. Why don't we go ahead and talk just a little bit about the way the current meta is going to imply that these teams should be built. Now, that does not necessarily mean that teams will build in this way, but typically when you do see a build that opens up with a Shadow Shaman, often teams, especially teams that are South American, although Earthspirit only has one person who resides in South America, I believe the rest are American. Not 100% positive on that, though. They usually like to go into a very heavy push build, focus a lot less on late game and a lot more on early and mid game aggression. Sneaky Nick's Assassins have the Brewmaster. He's going to require Blink Dagger. I wouldn't be surprised to see them grab one more hero who requires a Blink Dagger here and just kind of move in for a mobility style build, along with the Razor, who's going to be able to just kind of saunter around wherever he wants to go. Razor's probably going to rush in Aghanim's as quickly as he can after getting up some basic items, maybe a mechanism, most likely treads, and then move into the Aghanim's. At that point in time, he'll want to go ahead and get his Eye of the Storm, his ultimate, which will be able to target buildings, and that'll be the bulk of their push. Probably one additional pushing hero coming out as well. The Tidehunter is going to come out for Earthspirit. That helps a lot with those push engagements. He's very good at defending around towers, specifically against 5-person pushes, and really good at engaging into pushes, forcing engagements out of your opponent. He is very strong on the Dire side as an offlaner, because the Dire side offlane does have easy access to the Ancients, which the Tidehunter can stack up and then knock down with Anchor Smash, specifically if he's having trouble dealing with his laning partner, which is often a defensive tri-lane. Alright, so Sneaky Nick's Assassins are now considering what they want to move up against, or up with, as the Tidehunter comes out. That Tidehunter with so much AoE potential and with such great teamfight coming out of Earthspirit, it would be kind of difficult for them to move into this game without going one of two strategies. One, they can go for a straight up split push style strategy. That would require them to go for something like a Lycan, a Nature's Prophet perhaps, somebody who can split push very effectively and very comfortably on their own. Not a lot of those heroes that are particularly popular right now are in the map, or are in the pool, which means that we'll probably see them counter team fight with a little bit of team fight, possibly some initiation by somebody like a Bat Rider, which would be very dangerous up against a Skywrath Mage, but can pay off. We'll have to see what they want to do. A Jakiro is going to be pushed, so they might be just straight up trying to get some tower aggression going on and hoping to be able to make the aggression count in between Ravages. That's a fairly viable strategy, but it does require very good understanding of when your team has windows of opportunity. The Mirana's going to come out for no Earthspirit. That's going to be some additional initiation with the Leap and Moonlight Shadow. Moonlight Shadow to get Tidehunter into place before he gets a Blink Dagger. Very nasty, as well as the fact that the Sacred Arrow does pair up very well with the Shadow Shaman. That is a very long disable coming out of the Shadow Shaman on that, on the Shackles. Which means that the Mirana is going to have plenty of time to set up very nice Sacred Arrows. And Mirana, fairly decent Roshan hero because she is able to stun Roshan out for long periods of time to open up a Roshan fight. That being said, Serpent Wards help a little bit, but they don't really have a whole lot in way of Roshan power coming out of No Spirit. And Sneaking Assassin's probably not that afraid of the No Spirit. So the Earthshaker is still available. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sneaking Assassins go for that route. That would give them some counter team fight with the Echo Slam. Would also give them plenty of disable and lots of ability to do some high ground defense if they need to. They're going to grab a Vengeful Spirit. That's presumably going to be their second support. That Vengeful Spirit is very strong at doing some initiating of her own with the swap, with the magic missile. The negative armor is once again a nice little Roshan move, and honestly, Sneaky Nyx Assassins do have a little bit of an advantage moving in on the Roshan, with the exception of the fact that they don't really have the positional advantage because they are on the Radiant side. That being said, they do have a much easier to take Roshan style draft. And if they do start to pull ahead, Nowhere Spirit is going to have to probably use a Ravage to initiate into that. Ravage is very good at counter Roshans, which is fortunate. So is Moonlight Shadow. So Nowhere Spirit is pretty good at shutting Roshans down, but in terms of actually taking the Aegis for themselves, right now they just don't have a whole lot of potential for that. At least not through the early and mid game. At least until semi-late end of the mid game. The Ember Spirit is going to be banned by Sneaking Assassins. I like that ban. That Ember Spirit would have the potential to bring Nowhere Spirit into the late game extremely hard and be a lot of damage output through the early game. In addition, it would take away a lot of the magic damage of that Jakiro and a lot of the potential of those initiations with the Vengeful Spirit, with the Ember Spirit, able to counter-initiate very quickly. And he's just a very mobile hero and a very difficult hero to deal with if you're already being out-initiated, basically, which Sneaking Nyx Assassins are risking at the moment. Nowhere Spirit has 5 seconds left, but they have basically all of their reserve time, if not all of their reserve time, sitting there. So they've got plenty of time to think about what they want to pick, and I'm just going to go ahead and take this opportunity to go ahead and let everybody know that this, like I said, this is going to be a little bit more down-home cast. It is just me. I'm going to be taking it a little bit calmer and trying to talk as much as possible to fill in the spaces for you, keep it entertaining. But normally we do have casting duos here at the CEVO, and we are casting almost every single day of the week between me, Helium, Chicago Ted, and an occasional visit from Toffees or the Prove or Ever. We are doing a lot of work here for you guys to make sure that you have good North and South American content. If you do support that, go ahead and give us a follow on twitch.tv/playcevo1. It does help out. If you really like the CEVO motto, pick up a ticket. It will add $250 to the prize pool for these teams. And also consider throwing us a subscribe. That helps support your casters and your content providers to make sure that we have the time to be coming in here and giving you guys as much content as we do. And as you can see from the chat at the twitch.tv/playcevo1, it is a pretty close community that we are. It can be very large, but usually the chats are pretty nice to deal with, and it's a lot nicer in my opinion than a lot of the join Dota games that I cast where there's like 10,000 people in the lobby and they're all just spamming out and you can't tell what's going on. There can actually be a conversation in the CEVO chat rooms. It's big enough to feel like a show, but it's small enough to feel like a family, and that's what we really like about it. So the Clinks is going to come out for Nowhere Spirit. That's going to be very ganky. It will also help out the Strafe, is going to give them potential for those tower pushes, and that'll be the last little bit of tower push presumably they need. I expect that Mirana will be thinking about going into a Desolator here to help out with those pushes. Clinks will go into the late game pretty decently. Mirana, still the most popular hero of 6.81 if I'm not mistaken, despite the fact that she's on a serious slump in terms of her ticketed draft. The Sneaky Nyx Assassins are thinking about their last pick as well. They're going up against the Clinks. They might be thinking, what can we do? They're going to deal with the mobility by rooting down. They've got the Wraith King being played by Ush, one of the best Wraith King players in the Americas, if not in the world. It's going to be a great show, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for sticking around. We are going to go ahead and switch overlays at this point. Maybe. There we go. And we are going to be moving into our game here for No Earthspirit. We do have A on the Skywrath Mage. It's going to be Fan of Soyan hanging out here on the Clinks. It's going to be Alex's on the Marana Glacius. It's going to be on the Shadow Shaman. And I don't actually know who this is. CSO is going to be hanging out on the Tide Hunter. And for the Nyx Assassins, we are going to be taking Ush, farming out that Wraith King. It's going to be Fluff and Stuff supporting in the Jakiro. One day at a time, otherwise known as Lust. It's going to be filling in on that Vengeful Spirit. Here in the mid lane, it's going to be TC, formerly of Liquid, hanging out on that Razor. And, of course, IX Mike on that off-lane Brewmaster. Off-lane Brewmaster, not a position we typically see. Big rotation coming out of No Earthspirit, and they are considering putting up some wards and maybe trying to get a blood here. There's going to be the concussive shot going out. That's the slow. One day at a time, pinging it out. The Sacred Arrow is going to land, and Vanasoyan coming in here, and that's an easy first blood going the way of No Earthspirit. A very nice rotation coming out of them, and not the fastest reaction coming out of the Nyx Assassins. They are just kind of spread out and not together whatsoever. That is the cardinal sin of early game Dota. Scouting your jungle by yourself will almost always lead to you giving up a first blood, or at least giving up a lot of your regen potential through the early game. At this level of play especially. We do have similar warding coming up here. The dire side have opted to go ahead and block this camp and give some vision there. I'm going to go ahead and flash up the dire side vision because it is a lot less wide of a margin when you drop that vision here. You do have a pretty good chunk of river vision, but in terms of your anti-gank vision for your offlaner, it's a lot less. It does block that camp, so there are not going to be any pull-throughs. There's also not going to be any sufficient jungling near that camp specifically. It gives you great river vision, especially if you think that they're going to try to dive you behind the tier 1. But for the most part, it gives less protection for your offlaner. So CSO, feeling pretty confident. Looking at the Radiant side, we have a lot more widespread vision, a lot more effective defensive vision coming out for IX Mike, who's going to need it because he is playing on that Brewmaster. In fact, he's rotated down toward the bottom. Or no, he's rotated into the mid. There we go. CSO taking a little bit of trouble. IX Mike is in the bottom. Man, I am all over the place today. Thunderclap going to come out here, and they're going to get a return kill. It is going to cost them a rotation out of IX Mike, though, who does not have a TP to get back to his lane. So this is just going to be a good old-fashioned sack the offlane situation. IX Mike might even be sitting down here for a little bit until he can grab a TP and move back up to his lane. He should be able to grab one now, though, so not that big of a deal. They will have to spend a lot of the gold that they made off of that just getting IX Mike back into his lane, and he is missing a lot of experience right now. Like, he's 2 full levels behind the Clinks, basically, which is really rough for a hero with no escape playing in an off lane against an extremely mobile damage, high damage output early game hero. But you know what? If he's feeling comfortable moving it with that vision especially, he's going to come in here and try to leech some experience instead, just tanking a little bit. Going to go ahead and throw up our vision to both teams once again. A very interesting dual lane situation coming out here by Ban-Earth. And yeah, Fluff and Stuff is actually coming around to harass CSO a little bit. This is interesting. The dual lane mid, probably not that necessary, but it is good protection. The Skywrath Mage is going to be able to do a fair amount of zoning. Yeah, and for those of you who are asking in chat, the insider scoop is that Sna is playing with... Oh, you know what? I'm looking at the chat instead of looking at the board, and that's what I get. Sorry about missing that kill, guys. Back to what I was saying. The rumor going around is that Sna is not playing with Sneaky Nyx Assassins anymore outside of this tournament, and the new official roster is going to be TC, Fluff, Mike, Ush, +1. Probably another pulling off of Liquid. So we are looking at potentially 2013 Liquid plus Ush, which could be a very effective team here for the North American scene. Either way, Sna has not been playing very regularly with them for a while, and last time I talked to him, he said that he was not planning on being an active member of this team outside of CEVO moving into the future season. So that does appear to be what we're looking at. It is not officially announced in any sort of way, though, so it's still in rumor mill mode. All right. That'll catch up to you guys in 2 minutes. And that being said, why don't we go and talk about our last hits here. Nyx Assassins are doing very well on top of the board. The Clinks is doing very well for himself, though. Glacius coming around, trying to find himself a little bit of space, keeping IX Mike out. IX Mike really only needs levels, so I don't actually hate this Brewmaster offlane as much as one might expect because of my general disdain for offlaners without the ability to go into the jungle right away, which anybody who's seen me cast knows that is typically my preference, right? I like offlaners who can go into the jungle. I like it when they're going to be able to, and this is a stack attempt. It will take. Nice little move by TC. Yeah, I like offlaners who are going to be able to do some catch-up in the jungle on their own, especially if they are having trouble getting up items like IX Mike clearly is. He's been completely zoned out. He's been largely zoned out even of experience, but he's getting what he can. Fanasoyan is just wrecking up here, though. Mirana's a double damage rune, which means mid lane we could be seeing a little bit of aggression here. A concussive shot on top of a Sacred Arrow could be a death for TC. Double damage rune is sitting here. There's a concussive shot. We're going to see some additional harassment going out. Meanwhile, Fluff and Stuff coming up here along with Ush and One Day at a Time, otherwise known as Lust, coming out from Jakiro. There is the Liquid Fire level 2, which will help whittle down that tower as well. And not the aggression in the mid lane right now, specifically because the tower has, or the creep wave has been pushed in so far that they cannot get a good opportunity for it. Tidehunter doing everything he can here, but this tower is going to be dropping. If he goes in to try and deny it, very nice Ice Path by Fluff and Stuff to make sure that there is not going to be any potential for deny there. But if he did try to go and deny, he would probably die for it. Now, if he managed to grab the deny, it would be worth that death, but even going in for it is extremely risky. All right. And the reason Tide went for that first skill pickup Gush, for anybody who is wondering, is because he went for it while they were trying to get that first blood, which they did manage to grab successfully. So you can scoff at it if you want. He is going to be going down here, it looks like. Not a lot that he can do. The magic missiles there, the negative armor is there as well. The ice path is there, followed by the Wraith Fire Blast, and that is stun after stun after stun. He's going to throw out the Gush, try to do as much damage as he can to Lust, and will not be able to secure that kill, but will do a pretty significant amount of damage. Now he's going to, Lust is just going to go ahead and pop that salve and be absolutely okay. Yeah, this Panda's still not 6, and this is starting to hurt them quite a bit. The fact that IX Mike is not really able to do anything here. The one nice thing about having the Panda offlane, which I started, is that he's level dependent, but he's not that farm dependent. He doesn't really need very much in order to get going. He just needs to have levels. So if he can zone himself in, get within that level, or get within that experience range, he should be fine. Even if he can't get the gold, because he can go ahead and try to get gold by getting kills with his ultimate as soon as he hits 6. The problem is, he's been zoned out of the experience range as well. Fanasoyan sitting here right next to Glacius. Very effective combo. A lot of damage output from these two. And Ice Mike really can't, especially now that he does not have a ward up here, he can't afford to be too ballsy. He's almost 6. Clinks is sitting level 7. And this will probably, there we go. I think that was the 6 for IX Mike. But let's take a look here. Nope, that was 8 maybe. Somebody leveled up there right as I was flashing away. Regardless, yeah, this is potentially going to hurt the Nyx Assassins a lot. If he doesn't get 6 and is not able to open up a little bit of space for Ush, who is going for his traditional Ush build, would not be surprised to see him go for a Radiance next. That is something that this player likes to do on this hero. He does have his Midas up. There we go. Ice Mike is going to be moved on. He does not have his ultimate, so the silence is not even necessary, but the amp damage on the magic is very nice. There's the shackles as well. Shackles will be interrupted by the ice path, but it's not enough. There we go. After Ice Mike goes down, they are going to try to make this turnaround. Fanasoyan taking a lot of damage. He's not going to be able to get away. He is sitting on top of a ward that was well placed. And in exchange for IX Mike, they managed to grab 2. So Nyx Assassins once again making the best out of a bad situation. And all the while, Ush is free farm. This is something that the Nyx Assassins have been well known for a while, is that they do a very good... Ooh, nice arrow. I'm going to come back to that thought, because it looks like we could have some ruthless aggression coming out of Ban Earth. There's going to be the signs once again out on IX Mike, who does have Primal Split this time. Managed to pick it up, but he is not really going to have an opportunity to use it right now. Ban Earth is getting ready to defend up top. And once again, they're giving Ush complete free farm down here in the bottom lane. In the mid lane, however, TC taking a fair amount of damage. There is a double damage up on the Mirana. She is auto-attacking as much as she can. She also has haste, but she's lost 84 of her damage. She's actually hitting less than her base at this point. Not going to be able to mop up this kill. Probably not even going to be able to mop up kill in the Jakiro because of how softly she's hitting. Running up with those pussycat paws, trying to make something happen. Vanasoyan trying to come in on IX Mike. Just trying to zone him out a little bit. Make sure that he can assert his dominance in this lane. And all the while, us just down here. Free farming all the way around. Vengeful Spirit is going to come up here with the IX Mike. Managed to get a kill. Jakiro is coming around, but pretty comfortable in the positioning. Oh, actually, there is going to be the leap. It is going to disjoint that liquid fire, and everything's going to be all right. Let's take a look at Brewmaster and see how far he is toward his Blink Dagger. He's actually making pretty good progress toward it. He's got 1,200 gold. He's just saving up his passive gold. He's not buying a lot of regen. He's not buying a lot of items. He's been involved in 2 kills. Of course, he's also died twice, but he's gotten a couple last hits. I mean, he's sitting at 18. He doesn't have nothing. For an off-lane Brewmaster, he's doing a lot better than I would expect. But he really can't afford to die right now. Glacius is coming around on him. He doesn't have vision over here. Vanasoyan has that damage, and oh yeah, IX Mike is going to be hexed out. He's going to cast that Primal Split, though. The silence not quite fast enough off of the Skywrath, and there we go. IX Mike going to get a kill here. And Vanasoyan next on the list. See if IX Mike can secure this one as well. No, Razor is going to take that one. Does not really matter that much. IX Mike now starting to get himself into position for that Blink Dagger, which is the only real item he really needs for this mid game. And Ags is really nice to help him move into the late game, and then any additional damage he can get after that to try and buy him some more time in the late game would be nice. But once you get that Blink Dagger, that's the initiation that Nyx Assassins are waiting for. They are doing a very good job of using this Jakiro to do some effective push as well with that liquid fire, which is activatable, of course, at this stage in the game. It didn't used to be. It used to be a passive that you had to time. Now they put easy mode on that particular skill. One more Ice Path going out. Slow down Vanasoyan as we do see concussive shot go out. That concussive shot also giving vision in the range where it landed for about 3 seconds for about 600 units. 3.34 seconds at 600 units, I believe, which means that you can see exactly where your opponents are headed and whether or not they are faking their retreat or really retreating. But all the while, us still just free farming. Let's take a look at the general items. TC working on a mechanism going out. We have a Midas on Clinks and also a Midas on the Wraith King. Those have both been used several times at this point. Both of them getting good time on that Midas. And Clinks is going to be going for an Orchid. Really not that much else to report. The Blink Dagger is waiting. Is pending for Ice Mike. After this tower, he'll have it if he doesn't die trying to get this tower. He is tanking the tower, and the Skywrath Mage is here with the silence, but he doesn't have anybody to follow up, and he also doesn't have the mana for a Mystic Flare. He's going to hang around, try to get this deny, presumably. Radiant is going to fortify, try to buy themselves the time to take this tower. Mike waiting for that last hit. There's the Blink Dagger. He's going to buy it immediately, make sure he doesn't go down. They did use the glyph on that, and they're not going to be able to TP react quite soon enough. So that glyph, a little bit of a gamble, and it did not pay off, but all things considered, the Nyx Assassins are feeling pretty good about their position in this game as we move into the 12-minute mark. New wards have come out for both teams, and not a lot of counter warding going on so far this game. Both teams kind of getting the vision that they want, but very good use of the Nyx Assassins of just dropping sentries anytime they're moving up near this Clinks to make sure that he's not getting away. And he has yet to be able to secure an escape through the Skeleton Walk. There we go. We are going to have an engagement onto Vanasoyan. And he's going to turn around and try to make a move here. That might be a little ill-informed. One day at a time, we'll probably be going down here from the Skywrath, but Skywrath is going to go down as well. And there's going to be the blink out of IX Mike, and he's going to go ahead and get himself a triple kill. So anybody who was doubting the potential of this off-lane Brewmaster, now kind of biting their tongues, I suspect. He's coming in now. He's sitting at 4-2 at 12 minutes. Blink Dagger up. Primal Split ready to go. In terms of his team, he's managed to help his team open up lots of space for this farming Wraith King, who is going to have to use his ultimate right here, presumably. Wraith King does have a Blink Dagger up. He did not go for the Radiance build that we know that he does love, which means that he is planning on getting active very soon, I assume. He's going to try to outrun the leap here. Nice move. He doesn't have a stun, though. The stun already used, and the Mirana knows it, so she's just going to TP away, and Ush kind of hitting her helplessly. Continuing to farm down here. Completely uncontested, or essentially uncontested. I guess the Mirana just came down and contested him, technically, but it wasn't that effective. Took his ultimate, but meanwhile, this top lane is being pushed down, and no Earthspirit, despite the fact that they got a really effective first blood, and that they did very well in their top lane. They have not been able to really handle the aggression coming out of Nyx Assassins. I don't think they really expected it. All right. One day at a time. sitting here in the mid lane trying to catch up a little bit in terms of his levels and farm. He is sitting at about the same level that the Mirana is sitting at. Meanwhile, in the top lane, we are going to have an Ice Path go out, catch A. A is going to be going down, but Serpent Wards go down for the Dire side, but it's not going to be enough, presumably. 2 heroes already dead, and those are going to be farmed up by the aspects. Earth, wind, fire. Just going to go in and give themselves a free tower, basically. Jakiro going to walk right through him, does not seem to care. And I'm not sure what the Mirana is doing here. She did not have leap for a disjoint there, and she is going to be going down. No reason for her to engage on that whatsoever. And meanwhile, on the top here, we are also going to see Panasoian going down. At this point in time, it's 14-4. No Earthspirit are just getting wrecked. They are 7,500 gold in deficit at 14.5 minutes. Over 7,500 experience in deficit as well. The Ice Path goes out. It will miss, but it does not really matter. IX Mike is now unstoppable as an off-lane Brewmaster, and Ush has barely even gotten his toes wet in this game. Ban-Earth is basically playing 4-on-5 up until right about now. They've basically been playing 4-on-5 and have still been having so much trouble with the coordination coming out of the Nyx Assassins. It'll be very difficult for them to come back from this, especially considering the fact that that Wraith King is just so far ahead. His net worth is about 2,000 or 25% higher than the Klink's. That is an estimate. It's really a little bit less than that, but still very, very steep drop-off between the Wraith King and the highest from Ban-Earth. Glacius is trying to catch up a little bit on his levels as well. Meanwhile, Nyx Assassins are so far ahead in experience that they can afford to just 5-man up. And even if they have to 5-man up into a Ravage, they know there's no Blink Dagger up for the Tidehunter because he got shut down in that bottom lane so hard. We are going to see an additional Blink in, and that's going to be a Skywrath down, and no Earthspirit really have no response to this aggression. We're going to see some immediate TP reactions down to the bottom. TC is going to be sheeped, and Glacius trying to get out. There is no stun here. Oh, Ush comes in just in time to not get that. And Panasoian is also going to be able to walk himself away through that invis. No detection here. Ush, having TP'd down for nothing, decides to go into the easy camp and make something out of it. IX Mike rotating down toward the bottom lane, and looks like he's planning on cutting creeps and just moving in on this tower. The rest of his team is also moving toward that bottom lane. This is going to be the last outer tier tower. It should be, probably, outer tier tower, sacked, possibly a team fight going on there. And if Ban-Earth can't secure a win in that fight, Roshan is next on the list. Panasoian is going to narrowly escape. The dust not quite landing on him. Fluff stuff going up top to try and take that Mirana out. The leap is not quite going to get her out of range, but the stun has already been used, so she is going to be able to get away. Meanwhile, down here in the bottom lane, Ush is taking a lot of damage. He's going to have to use his ultimate here. No, he does not have it. He will be going down. Panasoian is taking a lot of damage, but there's a Ravage. Here's that team fight that we were talking about. Moonlight Shadow's also going to be going down. Server Wards are going to be coming out. That won't be used for a push, but it will be used for some additional killing potential. Everybody's just going to scatter away from it, including the Earth aspect, though, which means that this Storm Spirit can do whatever it wants. And it will just hang out here and throw out some additional damage. Obviously, the Brewmaster safely coming back in with his team at that Earth aspect. Considering it cost a Ravage and a Serpent Wards and a Klink's life, they did not get that much out of that. They did get a kill on the Skeleton King, which is very nice, or the Wraith King, excuse me. But yeah, this is just a lack of response coming out of No Earthspirit. Honestly, they should have been able to shut down that Brewmaster even after he hit 6. I mean, they did a pretty good job of keeping him out of experience range, as I had been saying. And keeping him shoved back, but they didn't really capitalize on that very effectively. And now he's just absolutely tearing through them. They're really having a lot of trouble with this strategy coming out of Nyx Assassins, which is get a lot of experience lead, get the Brewmaster into position with that 6. Just use the 6, just use the Primal Split in order to do your initiating, and Ush is going to try to come in here, but he is actually going to take a lot of damage to that. It's going to be Mystic Flare, but some additional damage coming out from Alexis. He's going to have to use his ultimate here. That's a nice grab for Ban-Earth, but they should be getting out of dodge. Ush is going to blink over. He will throw the stun on Alexis. And that will be a return kill. 18-5 in favor of the Nyx Assassins. Yeah, No Earthspirit, they did not let loose their own aggression nearly as effectively as the Nyx Assassins did, and that's hurting them a lot. The fact that they gave up all control of the pacing of this game over to the Nyx Assassins and let Nyx Assassins decide when they wanted to engage, when they didn't want to engage, when they wanted that Brewmaster to be online, and when they wanted to consider him in the backseat. It should have been No Earthspirit's job to go up and say, you know what? I know that Brewmaster's not online yet, but we're going to make him be active anyway. I know that you want time for that Wraith King to farm, but we're going to make him be active anyway. They haven't yet full team or even 3-man tried to gank onto that Skeleton King, or excuse me, the Wraith King. They really didn't do a lot of rotation after that opening gank attempt. Now CSO trying to get anything he can from these Ancients is going to be going down as well. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the GG coming out here pretty soon. That means that there is going to be no Ravage for 28 seconds. A free tower. Last outer tier tower. No Roshan response coming out of Banner. They don't necessarily... I wouldn't want to go in if I were sneaking Assassins right now, because the Ravage is going to be up on the Tidehunter. And they'll be able to get down to that Roshan before it is taken. But once they push this in and then force a reaction, at that point in time, they will be able to fall back into the Roshan fairly effectively. There is lots of good vision out by the Dire side here, especially down in this area. So they should be able to know when this is going on, but I don't know that there's really anything Banner can do about it, as long as Ice Mike does have the Primal Split. Especially if Ush has his Reincarnation, which will be back up in 55 seconds. They almost get this tower in a passive push. That was really more of a, you guys have to react to us, than a, we're going to take high ground push. That arrow's going to be dodged by Ush. It's going to land on TC instead. All right, here we go. Moonlight Shadow goes out. The Blink Dagger finally up in CSO. He's going to use it with that Ravage. They're going to come into some additional damage. A 2-man Ice Path is going to lock him out. Dust going out, so nobody is invisible. Galatia's taking a lot of damage. He'll be the first to drop here. Ban Earth is going to also lose Fan of Soyan, and while there is a great Serpent Ward trap, it just means more gold in the coffers for the Sneaky Nyx Assassins. They only managed to grab 2 here, but this should be a pretty quick tower. They're waiting for creeps so that they don't have to worry about the backdoor protection. They can go up. They don't have to do any tanking. This tower does not have enough health to stand up. The Ravage is down. All the ultimates, in fact, are down, except Clinks, and Clinks is dead. His ultimate also not that effective in the team fighting. They're going to move on to... They're just splitting their attention. They don't even really care. You can tell Sneaking Assassins don't take this seriously at this point, because they are not even focusing down the racks. They're just... I mean, one of them is hitting the melee racks. One of them is hitting the range racks. Yeah, that's a GG. No surprises. 15,000 experience, over 12,000, about 14,000 gold experience. 15,000 gold lead, about 14,000 experience lead. Wow, really stumbled on that one. Anyway, guys, we're going to be back with game number 2. Hopefully, the brand Earthspirit can really go ahead and bring themselves back into the frame of mind that they need for some competitive Dota. They kind of underperformed on that one. They are one of our top performers here at CEVO, and we expect a lot better from them in terms of dealing with the Sneaky Nyx Assassins, whom they play frequently. My name is Gorgon the Wonder Cow. You can catch me on Twitter at GotCowDota. Of course, make sure you guys are throwing a follow here on twitch.tv/playcevo1, and consider a subscribe or a ticket purchase for the Dota 2 TV, where you'll get a sweet Juggernaut set and help expand the prize pool for these teams. We're going to be right back with game number 2 of this best of 2 series, so please do stick around.